In a world where time seemed to stretch infinitely under an indigo sky, there was Lieutenant Michael Harris seated within the steel belly of his M1 Abrams tank as night cloaked the desert in its endless embrace. The terrain around him lay silent except for the steady hum that whispered secrets through every grain of sand, and wavelet crackle across dry creek beds or testament to nature's stoic resilience amidst human discord. Michael's gaze, aided by thermal optics piercing darkness like moonlight slicing the dark sea waves into frosted halos on glassy waters of an early morning lake, drifted toward distant lights that blinked in and out across the horizon. A mirage here, perhaps, smoke from fires there. The desert stretched infinitely before him as he thought about how this war had begun so suddenly after years at peace, yet seemed to linger with a relentless pace unfamiliar even for those who lived through it like his own father and grandfather did in earlier conflicts. As Michael reclined, the cool metal of his tank's interior provided temporary solace from the sweltering heat that rose each time he stood up to inspect something or take a brief respite under me-0W and shade cast by some distant military installation where soldiers gathered as if they were trees in an orchard rather than warriors. The Abrams, with its powerful turbine engine and armor designed for the modern battlefield's demands, was his chariot or marvel of technology that seemed to him akin more to science fiction than reality. Yet here he sat within it during night watches when even stars dimmed in solidarity against Iraqi skies filled with unfamiliar constellations. Though the first Gulf War had been dubbed by some as Desert Storm, Michael could not help but reflect on how quickly things escalated from mere tensions to a full-blown war that stretched into months, and yet it seemed like an eternity at nights spent waiting. The 100 hours promised before ground invasion had become nearly 3 weeks of anticipation as his country prepared for the inevitable clash with Saddam Hussein's forces or conflict he knew would be swift but devastating to those caught within its path. His thoughts wandered often back home, away from here where sand and silence reigned supreme. Memories of laughter shared around a dinner table were comforting contrast against the impending reality that this might not end in months like his grandfather's Vietnam service, but over mere weeks or speed unheard before. The Gulf War was an age-defying blur, as if time had been folded and unfolded back onto itself to create a battlefield unlike any other he could imagine. It felt futuristic, yet all too real in the way technology played its part on this grand stage of geopolitical chess. He was struck by how much his own generation seemed like outliers, straddling worlds that their elders had navigated with different compasses or war fought for not just oil but a future where democracy and freedom were cherished ideals against the backdrop of an ancient regime's tyranny. The night watch was his alone time. When he looked out through glowing eyepieces that bathed him in artificial light, Michael often found solace in contemplation. Stars indifferent to human strife, and wars seemed just as likely to fall from the sky tonight or tomorrow. Yet here amidst their silent company his thoughts danced with possibilities of peace achieved through strength displayed on this grand arena where he felt but a solitary player among thousands, yet somehow vital in holding sway over outcomes that could shape not only regional futures but global alliances for years to come. As the desert night deepened its velvet curtain around his tank and humanity outside him seemed an ocean away, Lieutenant Harris knew he was a part of something larger than himself, a story written in firefights and truces that would one day become history told by those who lived it or learned about through textbooks. The Abrams engine continued to hum its monotonous lullaby as Michael closed his eyes, feeling the world still around him, but within a bubble of calm where thoughts could roam freer, soldier in rest amidst preparations for an uncertain dawn that promised change or continuance under the endless canopy cast by desert stars. Lieutenant Michael had spent years honed for moments like these. Each sunrise promised either another day at war or one closer to home, yet he learned early on there were no true escapes when duty called, an understanding that bound him as much as it did his comrades in arms. The desert night was a canvas of darkness punctuated by the constellations' watchful gaze. They had been here long before and would likely outlast any legacy left behind, their light unwavering witnesses to humanity's trials below them. Inside his tank, with its eyepieces that replicated starlight on a lesser scale than the night sky above him, but more personal in offering comfort. When he needed it most, Michael felt an odd kinship not just for these stars, or even the Beehive's steadfast presence. He found himself often contemplating how strength and restraint could coexist within his own spirit. Lessons taught by those before him who had faced their demons as Michael now did the spectre of war each night under this desert sky, a perpetual reminder that peace was not a static state, but one constantly fought for, maintained. As hours stretched into moments and darkness embraced all within its reach, Lieutenant Harris often thought about his childhood friend Ethan, who had never seen the stars through such filters as Michael did now. They'd grown up playing in fields that no longer existed, victims of a land torn by warfare. They dreamt together under real night skies and shared ambitions to shape those very worlds, but time eroded their innocence with conflict clawing through the earth where flowers once bloomed untouched. Each memory was an echo in Harris's mind that haunted him even as he fought for a future they'd never see. The hum of the beehive became his nightly companion, its steady vibration lulling not just Michael to sleep, but also grounding the tumult within her sanctuary amidst chaos, where only reflections on peace and humanity persisted in silence as he lay inside this metallic cocoon. He dreamt of Ethan's youthful laughter, a stark contrast against his nightmares that blurred with reality when the world around him felt too small to contain all its sorrows or soldier's burden on both body and soul in an existence where sleep was as elusive as peace. Harris's thoughts often wandered back home, not just across miles of war-torn landscapes, but through the corridors of his past experiences that now seemed a lifetime ago, time when he could choose to be anywhere and everything beyond this tank's confining walls with its everlasting hum. Yet here in solitude was where Harris found himself most at home, even if just for hours each night, as the behemoth wore on. It provided a semblance of normalcy amidst the unpredictability that warfare brought into his everyday, and perhaps offered some measure to control within an environment beyond total reliance upon command. As dawn threatened with its rosy fingers, Michael rose from slumber knowing full well sleep was often just borrowed time in a world where uncertainty clung like desert dust on skin and spirit alike. He dressed deliberately for the day's operations. His uniform felt more armor now than attire as he prepared to join forces with others who shared this common thread of purpose, understanding that their actions today could echo into histories yet unwritten, where tales of valor were often lost in a fog of propaganda. Harris glanced at the horizon through his visor's transparent shield before stepping out. It was still dark enough to cloak any trace he might leave behind, as the behemoth rolled onward, a behemoth that carried him and others like silent guardians across this war-torn land. His heart, though weary from the weight of impending battles ahead, beat with resolve forged in countless hours beside comrades who shared his dreams yet differed vast as Michael stood steadfast on the behemoth's metal giant inching through the pre-dawn haze. His mind wandered back to a time when life was less harsh and more predictable, a world before he knew war as we know it. Those were days filled with dreams of writing tales that would someday be told across generations. Yet, here in this moment, surrounded by the roar of machinery and the murmur of fellow soldiers readying themselves for what lay ahead, his thoughts seemed distant enough to slip into a comforting narrative he'd once penned under cover of darkness, or tale about an unyielding spirit that never ceased despite adversity. The behemoth rumbled on through the stillness as Michael turned away from this momentary escape, returning his gaze upon Harris, who nodded to him in silent acknowledgment before he joined a growing line of soldiers clad similarly in armor and uniform, their breaths visible puffs against an already chilly backdrop. With each passing second towards dawn, the reality set deeper into Michael's bones. His dreamy notions seemed ever more ephemeral as duty called louder than anything else he had known before or since. As Harris led them forward to a briefing tent hastily erected in an abandoned field on their way out of town, the first light began painting hope and despair alike across the sky, a testament that life went on despite everything humanity could unleash upon one another. Inside the makeshift headquarters, where they'd gather before departure, generals paced with clipboards in hand as soldiers lined up like chess pieces ready for a game of survival and strategy beyond their understanding, but necessary nonetheless. The briefing commenced. Words were sparse yet carried weight that hung heavily on every listener, a blunt recounting of the enemy's movements, plans to secure key locations in advance of an impending offensive designed with such ferocity it seemed unthinkable by most within earshot, but necessary for survival. Michael felt his pulse quicken not just from anticipation or fear, as he absorbed every detail laid bare before him, an understanding that today was more than a mere day in uniform. This time would be etched into the annals of history and lived through lithic zeros long after their footprint had faded. Hours passed with tension mounting like storm clouds on an otherwise clear horizon, until at last they were dismissed back to the behemoth or colossal metal leviathan that seemed less a mere transporter of men and more, in moments such as these, the embodiment of their collective resilience. Michael found solace next to Harris by his side again. Sharing silent glances spoke volumes between them about trust forged through shared battle-seat, knowing full well how close they'd come before when brotherhood had been tested on blood-soaked fields where friend turned foe, and fear mingled with the acrid scent of gunpowder. As the behemoth continued its journey beneath them into daylight that would soon sear everything in sight back to life once more, Michael felt a swell within him as he considered this circle. Today's mission was not only about survival or conquest, but also the perpetuity of stories born from such times. He thought silently on how his pen, though it had now become purposefully dormant in favor of duty and camaraderie at hand, tales that would one day emerge were those of valorous deeds like this very morning's endeavor, whispers turned into raws within the chronicles he longed to write once peace was restored. Hours ticked by, each minute bringing them closer not just geographically but also in spirit. They rode together through rolling hills and rugged terrain that would test their resolve as much as any enemies might do on foreign battlefields. It wasn't until twilight beckoned with a touch softer than the first light of dawn, painting everything in gold-tinged hues, while Michael clung to memories he held dear, very essence that would become legends if only tales could survive amidst propaganda and political gamesmanship. As nightfall draped its velvet blanket over the land they traversed, it brought with it a reprieve from relentless sun or unforgiving cold. Though rest was not something he felt certain all, sleep had never been his to claim fully since childhood, when tales were spun under starlit canopies. Yet tonight seemed different somehow as Michael nestled down in the belly of the behemoth, feeling its steady hum like a lullaby that spoke directly. The sky had blossomed into a deep indigo as night fell over their temporary refuge. The behemoth stood steadfast in its silent vigil, cradling them within like an ancient guardian of bygone tales and whispers yet to be told. Michael lay there on his cot next to Sarah's beside him. Both found solace from the day's trials as they surrendered themselves into a shared embrace, with sleep that seemed just out of reach, their breathing slow but deliberate rhythms echoing softly in the dim light provided by flickering candles. The behemoth's gentle hum lulled them deeper, and it was here amongst these rolling hills, or world away from kings and crowns, that had ever dictated Michael's fate, where he felt most like a man rather than just another soldier in the grand narrative of warfare. He remembered his mother teaching him to tell stories while they sat on their porch under this very sky. Her tales were full of magic sprites dancing among willows and gentle giants that roamed beneath moonlit skies, worlds apart from where he now lay restless in the belly of the behemoth. Michael's thoughts wandered back to his childhood friend Liam, who had taught him about honor beyond bravery, how tales were not merely for entertainment but carried within them life lessons that shaped a man's soul and spurred actions when the world seemed bleakest, lessons he was now beginning to understand anew. The hills rolled gently, their peaks kissed by starlight, as if nature itself conspired with Michael in his quest for inner peace amidst chaos. This night's journey had brought him face to face not just with the land but also himself, and what truly mattered when life turned its back on comfort. He heard Sarah's soft snores from beside him, a reassuring reminder that he was never alone in his struggles, her shared bond forged through experiences untold and tales yet to be woven into the fabric of their legends. Her dream-filled slumber spoke volumes about resilience born not just out of necessity but also from an innate sense of brotherhood. Michael took a deep, calming breath as his heartbeat melded with the behemoth's rhythmic purring and the steady cadence of their footsteps that had taken them through countless terrains over years, landscapes both beautifully alien to him yet somehow familiar in spirit. The night wove itself around Michael like a comfort blanket, wrapping his weary body as he lay still with eyes closed. Though sleep evaded some of the best soldiers on this journey, for far too long they found solace together and drew strength from their shared humanity that transcended all else, are testament to bonds not easily broken by war's cruel hand. The behemoth stood as a silent witness, its massive form shrouded in shadows cast against the dark canvas of night sky, with stars twinkling like distant lanterns, guiding their path through trials and triumphant tales alike, a steadfast presence that reminded Michael why he ventured forth into battlefields beyond his own. As hours passed, they found themselves atop a hill overlooking an ancient city whose spires reached toward the heavens like fingers pleading for mercy. Its desolate beauty struck them both with heart-wrenching clarity, or stark contrast to their homeland's vibrant life and spirit. Michael thought of his sister Emily, how she used her words as a beacon in dark times, just as he once had the behemoth's hum. Perhaps this was why they felt drawn here, where history whispered tales not often heard amidst warfare, where echoes sought to teach them about purpose beyond survival. Their eyes, heavy with fatigue but still shining with unwavering resolve, began to drift open as Michael's thoughts turned once more towards the essence of what he cherished most in life. Not conquest or even freedom from fear, but rather tales that spoke truth and courage, which had been his solace since childhood. A tale was born within him, one inspired by shared camaraderie amidst adversity, where honor lay at its core like the very heartbeat of those who walked before them. It would be a testament to their journey as they sought not just physical healing, but also an awakening of spirit, or story that needed telling with all due reverence. Michael knew now, without question or doubt in his mind's eye, the narrative emerging within him was one forged by shared experiences and a bond deeper than blood. It would be their legacy if Michael and Emily sat quietly on a rickety wooden bench as twilight descended upon their temporary campsite, nestled in what seemed like an endless stretch of land that bore witness to countless stories long forgotten by time. The gentle humming sound coming from the distance was not unlike those days when they were children, and tales spun under a blanket fort at Emily's bedroom window would last until dawn, or timeless echo resonating with Michael's own memories of his sister. Her words often felt like an anchor in tumultuous times. He murmured softly to the wind, as if it were their only confidant now that they had found this secluded sanctuary away from war's raging tempest. "What do you think we should name our story?" Emily looked at him with a wistful smile and whispered back just before sleep claimed her voice entirely. "Honor," he replied as their eyes closed to the day's last light seeping into dusk's embrace. It seemed fitting that they would call this tale Honor, for what lay within was not merely a recounting of events, but an ode to honor, a beacon guiding them through darkness. The night air carried the scent of rain and earth, promising renewal as Michael began weaving his narrative tapestry with words that flowed like water downstream. It was during those long years when shadows seemed eternal at war's doorstep, where brotherhood had been both armor against despair and wings to rise above it. He spoke of their shared battles, not just on the field, but within souls scarred by loss, yet never broken in spirit, much like a phoenix rising from ashes with newfound vigor for life's simple pleasures amidst chaos. Such was Michael's own rebirth after enduring trials beyond youthful comprehension. In the story, honor took form not only through acts of valor, but also in quiet moments where compassion and empathy bridged divides wrought by fear, a testament to humanity's potential for kindness even when enveloped in sorrow's dark folds. Michael remembered how they had held each other amidst cannons roaring like tempests against their hearts. Once upon a time, he started softly under the celestial tapestry of stars that began to dot the heavens above them as night deepened further into its velvet depths. Emily's breathing steadied, mirroring his own with testament to shared resolve. He narrated a tale where honor was not just found in deeds, but also recognized through understanding and forgiveness that mended broken spirits like the gentle touch of dawn upon storm-tossed seas. He recalled how they had learned from history's most profound lessons, finding strength within their unity while embracing individual paths towards inner peace. Michael described a time when every soul in battle bore not just weapons but stories that threw shared narratives of courage and hopefulness, even amidst the grimmest times. These tales were beacons themselves that lit up darkened corners with understanding's warmth while fortifying bonds among comrades in arms. As he continued his tale into night's heart, Michael spoke of a village where stories flowed as freely as the river through its centiphat. Within these chronicles lay not just memories but morals and virtues to guide future generations. In this fable's fabric was woven an unyielding thread that honored their ancestors' resilience, inspiring him today. The story reached a crescendo when Michael depicted unity as the cornerstone upon which brave hearts built bridges across chasms wrought by fear and misunderstanding. It celebrated acts of selflessness so profound they transcended mere survival to touch immortality or legacy that would echo through generations. In his closing lines, Michael found peace in the knowledge shared with Emily was not only a tale, but also an anchor for their spirit's healing voyage, as if by telling this story aloud before her eyes closed into restful oblivion beneath night's tender cloak or covenant of sorts between them and time itself. It came to be that Michael knew his narrative, born from the essence of shared trials and triumphs in times when war had cast long shadows upon their homeland. It was a story forged through unity's flame where every word spoken upheld honor's hallowed ground. This legend would serve as both solace to weary hearts. Michael drew a deep breath and began his tale as dusk settled over the village of Eldoria once more. The golden light filtered through ancient trees, casting long shadows that danced upon cobblestone streets where children's laughter mingled with tales told by firelight in every home. Tonight was special. It seemed like a fitting night for Michael to share his story, a testament of unity and courage woven into the very fabric of their history. Many moons ago, he began, his voice as gentle as the lulling wind outside Emily's window. Our ancestors faced trials that tested not only our strength but also our spirits. The villagers leaned in closer, hanging on every word Michael spoke with such reverence. Michael continued to paint a vivid picture of their homeland during times when the shadow of war had stretched across Eldoria's verdant fields and gentle streams alike. "We were but young saplings amidst an ancient forest," he said, his eyes reflecting memories as clear as daylight through dew-laden leaves. The elders remembered how fearsome armies marched towards their gates, how the air crackled with tension like a storm on distant seas threatening to burst its confines and unleash chaos upon all it touched. Amid this backdrop of impending doom, something remarkable unfolded within Eldoria's heart. Courage found kinship in unity as tightly knit bonds formed between neighbors who had known nothing but strangers mere days before the conflict loomed over them like a dark cloud at high noon. The villagers joined hands to craft weapons not of aggression, but protection. Their shield and spear were their shared resolve, compassionate hearts that could quell even the deepest animosity forged in fear's crucible. As Michael wove his narrative further, he spoke with great affection about a particular night when shadows swallowed Eldoria whole under an ashen sky bereft of stars or time, where each soul within those huddled walls clung to the last flicker of hope amidst despair. It was then that Emily's grandmother, known for her unwar in fortitude and kindness, rallied all women in their midst with a simple yet powerful decree: "Together we are more than enough. Together our love is the balm to heal this world. Let us not waste time on hate, but instead extend hands of kinship." Heartened by her words and moved by Emily's quiet strength, Michael recounted how each woman took up roles that once would have been unimaginable for them, tending the wounded in secret corners away from prying eyes, sharing forbidden laughter with children born of wartime bonds, to remind themselves they were not merely survivors, but also builders of a future yet to be. The story's gentle current carried Michael through stories of unity among all villagers, how even the most reluctant hearts found solace in shared endeavor and purpose beyond mere existence or legacy that would endure long after their peace was shattered by invaders. Rage once more. It spoke of selfless acts so rare they seemed as miraculous to them as rain during a drought, where one village member's loss became the salvation for another through sacrifice and love beyond measure, wherein each act reverberated like an echo across time itself. As Michael neared his tale's end, he spoke of their ancestors who had returned with tales not just from lands afar, but also wisdom that fortified Eldoria's soul against trials yet unforeseen. He painted a portrait of unity so complete it seemed like the very threads spun by fate itself, how even as darkness threatened to engulf them once more, they stood firm together because their bond was forged from shared tears and triumphant hearts alike. He spoke now with eyes that saw beyond his own time into eternity. "Our legacy," he whispered, like a sacred mantra on the winds of change, "is not just in our survival, but how we choose to uphold honor within ourselves and for one another." This was their strength, their unity's flame, which would forever serve as an eternal beacon against despair. As Michael neared his narrative's close, He shared with Emily the understanding that this tale of Eldoria wasn't merely history. It served as a lifeline to her own spirit, a reminder of resilience and hope in times when she too felt engulfed by life's stormy seas. He and his voice now grew a softer timbre, reminiscent of the ancient bards who had once recounted epics under starlit skies before slumber claimed their audience. Michael spoke first to Emily's spirit or soul, that mirrored hers in strength and vulnerability, yet diverged like rivers flowing into distinct seas from a shared source deep within Eldoria's heartlands, in times when the realm of shadows crept at our doorsteps. It was not mere fortitude alone, but an unwavering belief that we could be reborn in strength and purpose through each other's essence. When darkness sought to claim us once more with its icy tendrils upon Eldoria's soiler land, where every stone told stories of yore, brave souls who had risen like phoenixes from despair, it was the unity in our collective heartbeat that shielded a nation. His words painted scenes both vivid and profound. He described how Eldoria's ancestors stood shoulder to shoulder with him under moonless skies, their shared resolve forming an impenetrable dome of light against the encroaching night of fellowship, where every tear shed by a parent for child or friend in misfortune was absorbed into the collective memory. It became clear that these tales were not just echoes from dusty tomes, but lived experiences etched deep within their lineage's essence and resonating through generations to reach Michael's own spirit, or connection as tangible as it was sacred. Michael recounted how Eldoria had once faced a famine that threatened not just survival, but the very soul of its people. For when one life faltered in hunger's grip, they all felt an emptiness within themselves too profound to ignore, a collective pain as piercing as it was unifying. But from this desolation emerged a newfound solidarity. Eldorians shared their last morsel with those who had nothing left, and found that, even when the world pushed them towards division, they chose instead unity's boundless embrace to carry one another through suffering, or testament to how love transcends mere words. As he spoke of these times past, Emily felt her own heart swell with a sense of belonging she hadn't realized was absent before. The lessons from Eldoria seemed timeless and universally relevant. The strength derived not just in enduring hardships, but transforming them into crucibles, forging deeper understanding among one another, a unity that no darkness could ever fully obscure again, once kindled by shared experiences, however dire they may be. Michael's tales shifted then to moments of sheer hue and triumph over adversity, the rebuilding after devastating wars, where hands joined in constructing homes and hearts mended through songs, some under Eldoria's resplendent Skisert Symphony of Solidar 081.json title. Chapter 7 Content. Michael's tales shifted then to moments of sheer hue and triumph over adversity, the rebuilding after devastating wars, where hands joined in constructing homes and hearts mended through songs, some under Eldoria's resplendent Skisert Symphony orchestrated by shared hope. It was a time when, even as ruins lay around them, laughter danced on their lips like sweet nectar amidst thorny brambles of despair. Title. Chapter 7. Content. Continuing his narrative thread through the fabric of Eldoria's rich history with a gentle cadence that seemed to hum along with Emily's own heartbeat, Michael recounted times when light and shadow had danced in delicate balance. He spoke fondly yet solemnly about festivals where every joyous beat was shared by a last celebration of life itself, against the backdrop of a land that knew both creation's wonder and destruction's wrath. And Michael took Emily through Eldoria as it had been before. Fields blooming in Michael's voice became a gentle stream of consciousness that flowed into Emily's mind with every word he spoke, guiding her on an odyssey through times past and dreamscapes yet to unfold in Eldoria's heartbeat like tales. As nightfall draped its velvet curtain across the skyline, their journey continued beneath starlit canvases that seemed almost painted with a reverence for history itself. In Chapter 8 of Michael's storytelling saga, he led Emily down memory lane to when Eldoria was young and verdant, before mankind had ever stumbled upon the darker paths leading into despair or strife. The land here flourished with an abundance that seemed to spring from the soil itself. Wildflowers dotted meadows in hues of purple, blue, and gold. Trees stood tall as sentinels, guarding secrets whispered among their leaves. Michael wove tales where Eldoria's denizens celebrated each season with fervor that belied the simplicity of village life there, laughter echoing through forests thick with ancient wisdom, and rivers singing melodies older than time itself as they flowed toward oceans kissed by moonlight. It was a place where every sunrise promised fresh beginnings, while each dusk offered contemplative solace under the tapestry of stars that blanketed nights in silent comfort and camaraderie. One particular tale Michael shared spoke fondly of Eldoria's most remarkable festival of flickering flames. It was a time when every individual, from children with eyes wide at wonder to the elders whose stories wove themselves into folklore for generations yet unborn, came together in celebration and unity that transcended mere festivity. Fire dancers adorned their bodies as they performed beneath open skies. Each leap higher seemed a prayer sent straight upward, seeking blessings from the very heavens above, while hands of all ages joined to create an intricate mosaic of light against darkened firmament, or spectacle that drew tears and cheers in equal measure. As Michael narrated this tale of shared jubilation amidst nature's grand amphitheater, Emily felt the warmth seep into her very soul. She could almost feel Eldoria's heartbeat resonate through layers of time, its history not just one to be read or studied, but lived and breathed. Through his storytelling magic, Michael transported them beyond mere remembrance into a realm where the spirit of resilience in humanity danced defiantly against any shadow that might dare encroach upon its brilliance. The narrative continued with tales from seasons when Eldoria had faced great trials, droughts, and blights, invasions by raiders who came not as strangers but harbingers of discord in the once harmonious land. Yet through each challenge emerged a testament to human spirit's indomitable will. For every sorrow that fell upon Eldoria, like autumn leaves from an untimely tree, there followed seeds sown with hope and hands joined together not just in labor, but love, a rebuilding of homes where laughter mended hearts as easily as the most delicate spider wove its web. Michael spoke now to Emily's heart about a legendary gathering during these trying times, when even amidst desolation's echoes, Eldorians found strength, a convocation of souls, where songs not just lifted spirits but forged bonds that would endure through ages. It was then they became more than mere survivors. They were custodians of unity in diversity and architects of tomorrow from the ashes of yesterday, crafting a legacy penned by shared hope rather than individual struggle against adversities thrown their way like stones across still water's ripples that would grow into waves washing over Eldoria's history. As Michael wove this narrative thread through Emily's consciousness with the deft touch of an artist painting a dream, she felt not just as listener, but participant in every era he recounted. Their journey together had become one where time itself seemed to bow and whisper secrets into her ear. The tales spun from Michael's lips were threads binding past struggles and triumphs, or tapestry of human endurance that cradled Emily gently as she drifted deeper with each word uttered beneath the watchful eyes of Eldoria's stars, now sleeping but ever present. The chapter closed on a note where Michael paused his recitation to allow for in Chapter 9 of our shared journey through history and heartstrings woven with Eldorian tales. Michael's voice carried us back to a time when shadows loomed large across their land, or period known as the Great Silence, that had befallen the once vibrant city. It was an age where fear whispered in every corner of Eldoria and despair clung like ivy on crumbling walls. Yet amidst this darkness emerged a flicker of hope within Emily's heart as Michael began to recount how resilience took root during that harrowing era. The Great Silence had descended without warning. Its severity was such that the Eldorian spirit seemed on brink, but just like every other time in history when darkness threatened their way of life, hope flickered and grew within them all over again. In this chapter's unfolding tale under Michael's guidance, Emily felt herself being pulled through a mosaic tapestry that spoke to the very essence of survival against insurmountable odds, her journey not only across time, but also into an understanding of her own strength and courage drawn from Eldoria's past. It began one twilight when whispers of unity first stirred in Emily's ears, carried by the wind that seemed to hum with a different tune than before. It was as if every leaf had been touched by an invisible hand reaching out for solace and solidarity, or call she too felt resonate within her soul. As Michael continued his tale of how Eldorians came together during the Great Silence, Emily could almost hear the soft murmur of voices joining in chorus as they shared their stories beneath starlit skies that no longer bore witness to such human frailty or fear, but rather echoed with a promise for renewal and rebirth. The Eldorians had once believed silence was an enduring companion, yet this belief shattered when the first note of song emerged on their lips, or melody, as old as time itself, that carried within it not only hope but also stories from generations past who faced adversity with unwavering spirits. Michael spoke to Emily about these psalms, how they became a beacon for those seeking light in darkness, and he revealed the secret gatherings where Eldorians would weave magic through music, a sacred rite that transcended mere entertainment and wove together their fragmented hearts into one tapestry of shared experience. In these hallowed encounters, by candlelight, a woman known as Elora sang with the grace of an autumn breeze. Her voice soared through tales spun from threads invisible yet palpable to all who listened. The psalms spoke not just of sorrow, but also celebrated love and life's simple beauties that persisted even when hope seemed lost, and in this celebration Emily felt herself being embraced by the very spirit she had long sought within her own heart. Michael painted for Emily a world where every Eldorian played an instrument of fate. Their actions and choices rippled through time like notes on water's surface, distinct yet part of one harmonious melody that would define them as custodians, not just survivors, but artisans in the crafting of a future built upon unity. In this chapter's tale, woven by Michael with care and precision reminiscent of calligraphers capturing celestial visions on parchment, Emily's soul found itself cradled within each word that danced from his lips, or dance leading her ever closer to the heartbeat of Eldoria. As dawn approached with its rosy fingers and gentle warmth after many long nights spent in communion by firelight's tender glow, Michael paused once more. He allowed Emily's eyelids to flutter closed amidst visions cast before her, a vision of the Eldorians rising from ashes like phoenixes reborn. In this image painted with his storytelling prowess, she saw herself standing among them in their darkest hour, yet emerging stronger and more intertwined than ever, a legacy inscribed not on stone, but within her very being, her testament to the enduring power of human connection against all odds. And as Michael's voice softened into whispers that only kissed Emily's ears like dew upon morning grasses, and his heart continued its silent, steady beating for those he loved through time itself, she too found her own rhythm within the cadence of Eldoria, pulse in unison with their history. And when at last Michael's narrative thread wove to a close, as Michael's voice softened into whispers that only kissed Emily's ears like dew upon morning grasses, and his heart continued its silent, steady beating for those he loved through time itself, she too found her own rhythm within the cadence of Eldoria, pulse in unison with their history. He spoke a final tale that day beneath the watchful gaze of ancient oaks, whose roots held secrets as old as time, and branches laden with memories yet to unfurl like sleeping blooms at sunrise, his storytelling fading into nothingness but echoes in her mind, in a land where seasons whispered tales older than the hills themselves. Eldoria's heart lay not just within its bustling markets or serene valleys. No, it resided deep inside each soul that called this place home. And today was about to be different for Emily, because she had begun her journey of self-discovery here amid the murmurs of Eldoria's past. The next chapter unfolded as Michael painted a vivid scene wherein the most formidable winter in centuries enveloped the land, casting shadows that danced like spectres at twilight. The frost bit with an edge sharp enough to carve futures into its heartless whiteness. Yet it was through this very adversity that Eldorians found their strength, a metamorphosis of spirit and kinship as resolute as the thawing rivers, eager for spring's touch. As Emily listened, her breath hitched in chilled wonderment, Michael continued, while drawing his fingertips across invisible patterns on frost-kissed windowsill air with a grace that rivaled any Eldorian artist's handiwork. She felt an invigorating shiver course through the marrow of her bones, her call to rise within oneself as one must when confronting nature's harshest trials. And so it was in this relentless winter that Emily first learned resilience, not merely enduring, but thriving alongside kin who saw adversity and bloomed back into life with a fierceness born of survival. As the tale unfolded like an ancient scroll being delicately unfurled by eager hands seeking warmth from its revelations, Michael depicted scenes where Emily stood shoulder to shoulder beside her newfound Eldorian brethren, sharing hearty laughter and robust tales of yore that fueled their collective will. There was an ancient festival in the dead of winter when light overcame darkness, a time called the night when stars fell, where each star represented hope, love, or loss. guiding Eldorians through nights without end as they sought to understand and mend what had been broken not just within themselves but among them. Michael's voice carried Emily across the land of snow-capped peaks that pierced the heavens before retreating into shadowed valleys, where fires raged like dragon's breath, their warmth a beacon for all who sought solace from frostbite and despair. The firelight danced on his face as he spoke in hushed tones of heroism, a young blacksmith, whose hammer sung melodies against the anvil so sweet that even angels paused to listen, a weaver's loom where threads intertwined not just fabric but destinies, or patterns foretelling triumph over sorrow with every woven swath. In Eldoria, Michael said as he recounted tales of ancestral wisdom passed down through whispering wind, and the guidance found in listening to one's heartbeat synchronized with that of others, there was a sacred place called Whisperwood where leaves told secrets when they rustled just so. Emily learned here, from an old sage who spoke not words but feelings, or a language more ancient than any spoken dialect. He wove stories around the concept of communal dreams that painted Eldoria in colors unseen by eyes awake yet felt deeply within their souls, a shared vision where every hardship was just another verse of an epic poem written across generations. Michael's tales spoke to Emily's yearning for belonging and understanding as he narrated the journey from darkness toward dawn, or path walked together with Eldorians who had weathered storm after relentless storm, always emerging not merely intact but irrevocably changed by their shared experiences. The chapter culminated in a crescendo of intertwining destinies as Michael described the night of reconciliation, or time when all disputes and heart, in chapter 11 of our tale in Eldoria, where whispers danced on breezes and hearts beat as one with nature's rhythm. Michael found himself under the ancient canopy of Whisperwood once more. The leaves whispered among themselves about his return to rustling the language that only those who had listened long enough could understand. It was an invitation for Emily to rejoin her friend on another journey through ancestral wisdom and communal dreams. Together, Michael and Emily approached the heart of Whisperwood just as dusk embraced Eldoria in a warm golden glow. The trees stood like silent sentinels guarding secrets that only became visible when twilight kissed their leaves with hues of rose, gold, and amber blush, revealing patterns known to very few, or visual symphony composed by the forest itself. As Emily settled at Michael's side upon a mossy stone bench, she closed her eyes in reverence for this sacred place where nature conversed with souls, seeking solace and understanding amidst life's tempests. It was here that an old sage appeared before them, her presence as natural to the woodland setting as water is to rivers or birds are to skies. Their guide, Elora, looked upon Michael and Emily not with eyes, but a gaze of gentle empathy. She could sense their hearts yearning for belonging stretch across vast distances that time had attempted to sever the bond between them. With every wordless moment shared beneath Whisperwood's watchful boughs, Elora conveyed feelings and emotions through touched tender pressure of her hands. On Emily's back spoke volumes in a language older than Eldoria itself. It was an ancient communion transcending the need for spoken words. Elora guided them deeper into Whisperwood, where they encountered echoes of their ancestors, spirits that walked with Michael and his people since time immemorial, were guardians now as always before, keeping watch over Eldoria's heartbeat through whispering winds and rustling leaves. Emily felt the wisdom of these timeless souls course through her veins during their silent communion. She knew that within Whisperwood's embrace lay an understanding so profound it could unite realms apart, weaving together lives like threads in a loom foretelling shared triumph over sorrow. As night's velvet curtain drew to close on the day, Elora led them along winding paths that twisted and turned through Whisperwood's enchanted undergrowth. Each step brought new revelations of an intertwined destiny with Eldoria itself. They paused at a glade where fireflies danced like living embers in the dark, casting their light upon mossy earth that felt as soft beneath Emily's feet as memories are tender to time-worn hearts. The trio found themselves before an ancient stone circular, sacred ground for gatherings and celebrations of unity among Eldorians who had faced storm after relentless storm, yet always emerged changed by their shared hardships into something more resilient and beautiful than they were when dawn first painted the sky. Here was a symbolic reflection of Michael's tale's night of reconciliation, where discord found harmony in understanding as he had woven for Emily, and now she could feel it within her own essence, even before words formed to capture this shared vision. The stone circle seemed alive with energies that hummed a melody older than Eldoria's oldest stones. It resonated with the collective experiences of generations past who had sought solace here, finding strength in community and peace through reconciliation after their darkest times. Emily sensed within her spirit an ancestral echo to these very energies that now mingled with hers. She felt as though Whisperwood itself was offering its own communal dreams for them to partake of, a shared vision where every tribulation and sorrow became but verses in the ongoing epic poem written across Eldoria's history. As Emily embraced this newfound connection with her ancestral roots within Whisperwood's enigmatic embrace, Michael felt his heart swell. It was as if he had brought a piece of the sacred back to share in their journey toward Dorne together. And so they lay beneath stars that shimmered like jewels against night's canvas and allowed themselves moments where time seemed irrelevant, for within Whisperwood's tender hold, past, present, and future melded into one shared dream of belonging or commune. Emily awoke with a smile that seemed to mirror Whisperwood's own serene glow, a gentle reminder of their shared dream and its connection to her ancestry, now cradling her in comforting nostalgia as she surrendered back into consciousness. The moonlight filtered through the canopy above them, painting silver streaks across Michael's face, which reflected a contentment that only Whisperwood could inspire upon those who truly listened with their hearts to its timeless hymns of unity and strength, or testament to all they had witnessed over countless seasons. Their journey began anew as the first rays hinted at Dorne's approach, promising another day within this sacred enclave where history breathed through every leafy bough, rooting itself in Emily's soul alongside her newfound ancestral echoes that hummed just beneath Michael's skin. The gentle rustle of leaves seemed to whisper secrets as ancient and comforting as the stories they held dear about Eldoria, land where even now people celebrated life's continuum, weaving a tapestry rich with shared experiences stretched across time like an unending stream flowing into Michael's own heart. As Emily rose from beneath her blankets of night-made linen and lace, she found in Whisperwood not just refuge, but also revelation. Each step forward on the dew-dampened earth, a quiet affirmation that here they belonged to something greater than themselves, their hearts beating as one with Eldoria's own. The forest was alive today, and so too were its children of flesh and spirit, intertwined in communal dreamscapes, where every soul had found rest under Whisperwood's watchful eyes that seemed to understand the language without words spoken or heard within their sanctuary beneath a sky ablaze with light. The pair ventured deeper into Eldoria's heart, guided by an unseen hand as they traced patterns of footsteps along paths laden with stories and dreams intermingled in every stone. Here was harmony not just understood but felt, or synchrony between past generations who had sought Whisperwood's solace during times when darkness threatened to engulf their world. They passed ancient trees, wise old sages, that bore the scars of lightning and time, yet stood defiantly against them with a resilience born from centuries spent whispering strength back into weary souls like Emily's own ancestors before her, their spirits now interlaced within this place. At midday, when shadows grew shortest beneath the sun's zenith and birdsong filled every nook of Whisperwood with life-affirming melodies, Michael found himself cradling Emily in his arms as they rested upon a gentle rise where flowers bloomed defiantly amidst greenery that whispered secrets to those who would listen. It was here he shared words meant only for her ears, and hearted declaration of love unbound by language but defined within the purity of their connection. It transcended mere feeling, reaching into a realm where emotions were pure energy coursing through them both like lifelines tethered to Whisperwood's eternal soul. Their journey continued as they ventured beneath archways carved by unseen hands, centuries of our testament not only to the skill of artisans past, but also their enduring hope for a future where love and understanding could flourish freely, without fear or division, much like what Emily felt embracing Michael's arms. They wandered through hidden groves where sunlight danced upon rippling streams that carried whispers downstream, a river of stories flowing ceaselessly towards an end as yet unknown, but known to all who believed in the promise held within each drop. Every story a piece of Eldoria's collective heartbeat. As dusk began its approach and painted Whisperwood with hues of orange and pink, her masterpiece only nature could conceive, as it bid farewell to daylight, Michael led Emily down an overgrown path that curled like a ribbon through the thicket, revealing themselves at last within what appeared before them, a clearing where time seemed suspended in stillness. The stars emerged one by one from behind their celestial canopy, as if peeling back layers of night to unveil this sacred space for just such moments when souls might lay bare the depths of their connection or place within which they could converse without words, understanding each other through eyes alight with shared love and silent promises. It was here beneath, as Michael and Emily settled into their sacred space beneath a canopy of twinkling stars, they found themselves inexplicably drawn to an ancient stone circle that lay just within sight from where they stood. The stones were smoothed by time's persistent hand, arranged with intentional care, as if inviting the world-weary souls who stumbled upon them for a moment of solace and reflection on life's intricate pathways. Their fingers brushed lightly over mossy surfaces that had borne witness to countless seasons' secrets, each stone an anchor in time where dreams could intertwine with reality without fear or judgment or concept. Emily held Dia as her heart echoed Michael's own sentiments. They moved closer together around the circle, their shadows mingling on aged ground that seemed to hum softly underfoot, resonating silently within them both and offering a comfort known only in places of such timeless beauty, where one could almost forget they weren't just dreamers, but living stories themselves, stories rooted deeply into Eldoria's heart. A gentle breeze, whispering through the trees, carried with it echoes of songs sung by ancestors long gone, melodies that had once been as real to them now felt like distant memories fading on their lips before settling among leaves and branches where they might take root in new hearts. Michael reached for Emily's hand tenderly. Her touch was a warm balm against the cool night air nipping at his skin, reminding him of fleeting moments that seemed to stretch eternal beneath Eldoria's watchful gaze. Surrounded by this profound stillness and ancient presence, Michael felt an urge, a compulsion not just for love, but also for legacy, a desire to weave their shared future into the tapestry of time itself, where every thread was imbued with hope that generations yet unborn might one day find solace in its pattern as he had found it here in Emily. Together, they watched the sky transform from indigo blueprints painted by celestial artisans into a mosaic of dream-threading constellations or tableaux that seemed to hold answers unspoken but felt within their very bones, as though written in starlight itself upon Eldoria's eternal canvas. And Emily, whose eyes held galaxies yet explored by her soulful gaze alone, could see the reflections of endless possibilities where love might flourish not just between two hearts intertwined, but also within a community that embraced its diversity as strength and not strife, an ideal she aspired to for Eldoria, Michael's home. As night's embrace grew deeper around them, the duo found themselves at the heart of what appeared before their eyes a mirror-like lake whose surface was a liquid silver under moonlight's caress, and where reflections danced as if to imitate life in its most earnest form, two hearts beating together against Eldoria's own pulse. Michael shared with Emily his deepest thoughts without uttering them, conveying volumes through the language of eyes that sought understanding beyond words or testament not only to their love, but also a silent vow made in this hallowed clearing where souls met under starlight's watchful eye and dreamt together. The stars above seemed almost alive as they winked knowingly at the pair, blessings whispered upon them by elder spirits who had walked these very paths before, a benediction to guide Michael and Emily on their journey through Eldoria's emerald heartland, where love was not just a fleeting emotion, but an enduring flame that burned brightly within the souls of all those brave enough to nurture it. As hours melded into one another, time's steady march became inconsequential in this place suspended between worlds. Michael and Emily's laughter rose above Eldoria like a melody that seemed lost on no ear as they shared tales of days long gone but not forgotten, stories etched upon their beings just as deeply now imprinted by the magic before them. Amid this communion, an awareness settled within Michael's chest. He felt Eldoria's spirit coursing through his veins alongside Emily's own love for him, a powerful reminder of why they had traveled so far to find one another and now stood firmly together in the face of all that life could present. In this clearing, their shared dream took shape not just as a vision, but also an undeniable reality. It was here where Eldoria's heart beat. The moon hung low in Eldoria's sky as a silvered crescent, that night a fitting companion to their love, delicate and pure under its gentle glow. Michael wrapped his arm around Emily's shoulders while she leaned into him with the comfort of one who had known peace for many seasons within her heart. They were no longer travelers, but custodians of a dream that transcended time, or sacred promise etched in their shared visage by Eldoria's benevolent gaze, which now seemed to rest upon them like an approving eye from the night itself. Their laughter had become part of Eldoria's tapestry, a thread woven into its history as much as any tale told within her walls. Michael and Emily's spirits resonated with that of the land, each step they took in harmony with the very pulse of life beneath their feet, a symbiotic dance between two beings in one extraordinary world where reality could blur with fantasy before an open heart or mind's eye. Michael had always been attuned to Eldoria's whispers, but tonight they seemed louder than ever within his soul. He felt them not just as echoes of the past of travelers who tread these paths, with love in their hearts before him and Emily, but also as murmurs from a future yet unwritten. In this dream that had begun to weave itself into tangibility, they found themselves at its center, surrounded by Eldoria's children, youthful creatures of light borne aloft on iridescent wings or cloaked in the enchanting shimmer of dewdrops suspended mid-air. Their journey was not just through physical space but a pilgrimage across time, where every memory and shared tale became alive with meaning or chronicle that Michael had become an unwitting part of now as he gazed upon Emily's eyes shimmering like the very stars above them, her laughter imbued within their melody. Eldoria was a place outside time, where night and day danced in unison rather than opposition, a realm not governed by hours but moments that stretched into eternity, when two hearts beat as one beneath the cosmos's watchful eye. Here, amidst this convergence of past joys, present love, and future potential lay a promise they had yet to fulfill. It was their destiny to write its lines, towed through each word an oath sealed with kisses stolen under moonlight, or vows whispered atop Eldoria's highest peaks. As the night deepened around them, Michael and Emily found themselves beneath a canopy of stars that seemed almost sentient in their shared radiance. Each twinkle was an approving nod to love's courageous endeavor and acknowledgment from realms beyond for those who dare to embrace it wholly. They knew not if this dream would awaken them within Eldoria's enchanted borders or call forth the morrow, but regardless of reality's mercy upon their return home, they could rest assured that here, under a sky pregnant with stars and possibilities, their love was immortalized. And so Michael placed his hand on Emily's cheek as tenderly as if she were the most delicate bloom in Eldoria's eternal spring, her presence beside him an anchor to this fantastical dream that had become their shared sanctuary, a place where all things possible existed alongside those of love. In a world unmarred by fear or doubt, they stood together as one entity, the keeper and protector of Eldoria's heartbeat, its children's laughter forever echoing in his ears like an ancient hymn that promised life beyond death, a reminder their journey was never truly about reaching a destination, but rather savoring each step, every breath. They knew not if they would awaken as dreamers or dwell within this emerald haven eternally. The distinction melted away in Eldoria's embrace, where love held sway over logic and time, bowed to heartbeats, a refuge untouchable by waking world's harshness. Here, Michael found himself not just a witness, but an integral part of what it meant to live with one soul bound irrevocably to another. Their laughter was now Eldoria's melody, and its children were the joy that danced within his chest, a treasure trove more precious than any hewn gem. For in this dream, where magic intertwined seamlessly with reality, Michael felt himself reborn as a keeper of legends. As Eldoria's eternal spring enveloped them in a comforting embrace of perpetual twilight, Michael felt every beat within his chest synchronizing with that around him heartbeat they had come to guard so dearly over the years. The petals of an everlasting bloom danced gently upon the breeze beside them as if in a silent symphony only he and Em could appreciate, their fragrance perfuming his dreams with promise amidst this realm where time held no dominion, but love's tender command. Within Eldoria's verdant embrace lay an ancient glade, their sanctuary of shared solace that had witnessed the rise and fall of countless moons. Seasons, after all, were irrelevant here in their world untouched by dread or uncertainty. It was a place beyond measure for Michael to feel Em's warmth upon his skin as they stood side by side. He could no longer walk, but moved with her spirit like two hearts bound together into one immutable essence, where every whisper of the wind through Eldoria's leaves sang harmonies that echoed laughter from days not yet lived, or perhaps never to be. Together they had traversed this dreamland's expanse, landscape painted with vibrant hues only seen within their shared slumber and touched by hands gentle as moonlight caresses, where the most delicate of flowers bloomed unceasingly in a kaleidoscope of colors that defied nature's own palette. In Eldoria's heartbeat beat not just life but hope, Each petal-laden stem held stories and songs from forgotten ages when gods walked among mortals, leaving behind the whispered promise, with every bloom an eternal testament to times of old, where love was a force as mighty as any tempest. And now Michael felt he had become part of Eldoria itself, his very soul woven into its legacy like threads in an ever-growing tapestry that told tales older than time. And even if this dream world could not yield to the lightness of daybreak's touch or nightfall's shadowed embrace, here among these ancient trees, which stood as sentinels over his heart's homer place where laughter was a language etched in every ring that marked their growth, and sorrow left no trace upon its hallowed ground, he felt the essence of Eldoria imprinting itself into him more profoundly with each passing moment, as they meandered through this land draped in emerald wonderment or dreamscape where every step promised revelation, and even if their footsteps would forever be silent on awakening's shores, Michael embraced the role of keeper that fate had so unwittingly bestowed upon him, with M by his side, or as one spirit with another in this world unconfined to reality's harsh gaze. They roamed without fear, for all was sanctuary here, a place where every heartbeat and sigh were hymns of existence that transcended the mundane limitations imposed on beings beyond these borders. It wasn't just about them anymore. Eldoria had become their legacy, a love so pure it seemed to fill all corners with its presence, a reminder etched into every living thing they encountered or even touched, as though each shared breath were an act of communion and unity rather than simple respiration. For in this realm where heartbeats echoed the rhythm of life itself, Michael had found his purpose, a guardian to preserve not just M's laughter but Eldoria's own voice or melody that spanned eons yet resonated with every moment they lived as one soul within another. In this land where wonders defied belief and love was an unspoken truth, Michael came upon a fountain whose waters shimmered with the light of captured stars, its surface reflecting not just their image, but visions beyond or glimpse into realms yet to be written in dreams or thought by mortal minds. Here they found themselves at once voyagers and anchors, travelers through infinite possibilities, while remaining steadfast guardians of this delicate balance between fantasy's allure and the solemnity that love demanded. The journey had led them now into a clearing where trees bore fruits so luminous in their ethereal glow they seemed to hum with potential, a place Michael knew he must visit often, for here was Eldoria's gift of continuance, an enigma wrapped within the flesh and essence that would one day bear fruit beyond this realm. It whispered promises through Michael reached out with his hand to touch a flower whose petals felt like silk woven from the very essence of twilight, while and danced among them in harmonious joy that lifted her spirit and calmed Michael's restless thoughts. As they moved through this enchanting garden, their steps seemed both natural yet imbued with a purpose greater than themselves, as their silent vow to protect the beauty around them from any who might seek its destruction for malicious gain or egoistic pride. Intoxicated by Eldoria's magic and feeling as if time had halted within this pocket of infinity, Michael paused before an ancient tree whose roots delved deep into sacred soils, rich with memories passed down through generations untold. Its bark was etched with runes that spoke in whispers only to those who knew how to listen, or language beyond words, but as telling as any tale penned by mortal hands. Here the tree offered Michael a seat encased within its heartwood, not just another artifact of Eldoria's legacy, but also an emblematic beacon that would guide them in their guardianship and affirm their role throughout history's unending cycles. The air hummed with latent energies as if the very ether around Michael pulsed to life, a resonance felt not just within his chest, but also through M, who seemed drawn into an embrace that transcended physicality and nurtured their connection beyond mere mortal senses. It was here in this sacred grove where they shared whispers of dreams yet unspun, or tapestry woven from the threads of potential futures, only hinted at within Eldoria's mystical framework, but also echoing with timeless truths etched into its foundation stones and whispered by wind-borne leaves. As they sat beneath a canopy crafted not just by trees, but by destiny itself, for shelter woven from the very essence of lightness that seemed to defy gravity, while anchoring them firmly in this moment, Michael traced patterns on M's hand, symbols imbued with love and guardianship. These marks became their silent pact, a language understood by heartbeats synced not just between themselves but across the ages of Eldoria's existence. It was here that Michael felt he could truly comprehend his role in this grand tale, or protector whose duty stretched beyond mere watchfulness and into realms where love intertwined with responsibility, ensuring each shared breath became an act not just between two souls, but across the fabric of history itself. This communion within Eldoria's heartbeat was a symphony that transcended their individual existence. It sang to them in harmonies and melodies born from unity's deepest chambers, reinforcing M as not just his partner through life, but also the embodiment of Eldoria itself. Their journey had led Michael back here time and again to this moment, where past met future within every whispered echo that traveled along ancient boughs or danced upon Zephyr's wings, inviting them deeper into understanding their shared role in the preservation not just of laughter but also of Eldoria's very voice. This was a realm beyond simple respiration, this place between breath and being where Michael found his purpose intertwined with M as one soul within another, a guardian to preserve both her joyous spirit and the eternal song that resonated through all things. As twilight descended upon Eldoria, casting its golden light across fields of enchantment beyond compare, it was here in this glade where Michael felt most at home, his heart beating with a rhythm attuned not just to M's but also the ancient cadence that pulsated through every leaf and stone. He looked upon her as one might regard an extension of self, a reflection mirroring back from within him, their spirits entwined like intertwining ivy on Eldoria's time-honored walls. In this place, where the fruits bore luminescence in lieu of color and trees whispered secrets to those who would listen closely enough, with heartstrings attuned more towards feeling as twilight's gentle fingers painted Eldoria in hues of gold and crimson, Michael found himself drawn once more to this very glader place where time seemed an abstract concept that wove itself into silence rather than ticking away on his grandfather clock. The luminescent fruits hung from the branches like silent sentinels, guarding over him as he lay beside M in their shared bed, listening intently for her gentle sighs which carried tales of days long past and hopes yet to bloom anew under Eldoria's watchful gaze. Michael whispered into the quiet night air that seemed a mere breath away from his own voice. Do you ever wonder if these ancient boughs remember our laughter too? The question felt like homecoming. It was as though he had always been seeking this connection, way roots seek water. M's soft reply brushed against him with the tender weight of shared understanding and unspoken dreams, her hand resting lightly upon his thigh in a silent promise to explore together what lay beyond Eldoria's embrace when daylight returned. Amidst their gentle exchange about mundane matters or conversation that could have unfolded anywhere under the sun or moon, but felt profound here, where every leaf and stone seemed imbued with purposeful resonance, Michael's thoughts began to wander like dappled light through leaves above. He thought of Eldoria's guardians before them, those who had sung its songs into legend without ever realizing their voices were a legacy that he, too, could now add his own notes to the eternal chorus. Their story was but one within countless others, a thread in an intricate tapestry of lives and loves entwined across centuries beneath Eldoria's watchful skies. And Michael felt as though he had wandered into a painting where each stroke told tales, spanning the breadth from joyous revelries to silent vigils held for lost spirits believed by ancient kin to roam these very lands in search of peace, their whispers carried on night breezes that kissed Eldoria's verdant cheeks. Even as he lay beside him, her presence enveloping him like a warm blanket woven from moonlight, and dreams could almost hear the distant echoes of ages past resonating through his very marrow, each whisper an invitation to delve deeper into Eldoria's heart. There was something here in this place that he felt called upon by fate itself. It seemed as though every leaf held a secret waiting for him and M to uncover with gentle hands, guided by intuition's light. He reached out, fingers skimming over the mossy stones of their path or touch sending ripples through time that spoke of histories both grandiose and intimate like intertwined vines upon Eldoria's ancient walls. The very air thrummed with energy, as if holding its breath in anticipation, knowing it was not alone, but partaking in the shared journey of a guardian to his beloved, a map protector of light within darkness, laughter amidst sorrow's shadow. As he laid back into her arms and let sleep claim him once more, with promises whispered on lips that were forever entwined at heart's core, Michael knew this was the beginning, their part in a story spun from Eldoria itself, a tale of guardianship not just for joy but as custodians to safeguard its enduring song. A melody so powerful it could coax flowers into bloom without sunlight, and summon rain with nothing more than words spoken aloud, their voice as a key turning the lock that united past glory with future hope in an eternal dance of love under Eldoria's benevolent sky. And as twilight descended upon them, once againer cloak woven from threads softer than nightfall itself and gentler on sleeping eyes, Michael felt the pulse of their shared rhythm against his chest, M's heartbeat a mirror to his own, each throb an affirmation that here in this sacred place where echoes melded with time's flow as one continuous river her was home. Here they were bound not just by blood or love, but also the shared duty of guardianship for Eldoria's voice, a legacy passed through generations, now their own to cherish and uphold within this magical glade where echoes carried wisdom beyond mere words whispered in time's passing. As M drifted deeper into dreamscapes untethered by the waking world, a realm of endless possibility in this haven secluded from mundane worldly concerns, Eldoria's melody continued to pulse through every leaf and stone, a serene hum harmonized in perfect sync with Michael's heartbeat as he traced his fingers along the cool bark of an elder tree. M had slipped into slumber long ago on one such branch that seemed at once both foreign and comfortingly familiar to her weary-souled dream world's embrace, a soothing balm against reality's harsher facets wherein their shared burden often felt too great alone. Here in the glade Michael took solace, not only from his guardianship, but also found respite for M's spirit to roam free amongst dreamscapes, untethered by time or fear, a realm of endless possibility where she could dance among clouds painted with colors that seemed borrowed straight from Eldoria's very essence. In these moments the line between Michael and his beloved blurred into a seamless whole, their love an unwavering fortress against any encroaching darkness or doubt within themselves or without her, bastion built upon trust as enduring as stone yet delicate in its construction of shared vulnerabilities. As the sun bowed reluctantly behind Eldoria's horizon, casting a soft twilight hue over their sacred refuge, M's voice emerged from within her dreamlike state, her gentle lullaby that beckoned Michael closer with promises whispered by night herself. "Dearest guardian of my heart and home," she began in his ear without moving more than a sliver beyond the tree's embrace. "Do not fear, for within this realm where dreams are woven into being, where every shadow holds potential as vibrant hues do light, we find solace together." Her words were laced with love and understanding that flowed between them like a river fed by countless streams of shared experience. As Michael leaned in, the warmth from M's breath on his cheek was both comforting and intensely intimate, her heartbeat resonating within him as if she were never far away, at a constant companion amidst solitude that often clawed its way into their shared path. In this sacred space they would find strength to face the trials of guardianship with a unity forged in dreams and reinforced by love's unyielding resolve, an understanding born from centuries wherein generations before them had weathered storms that sought not just Eldoria's survival, but its very soul. They were custodians, yes, but also companions on this journey as old as time itself, and as fresh with each heartbeat shared between Michael and M beneath the ever-watchful eyes of their enchanted home. As night fully descended upon them once more within Eldoria's embrace, a cloak woven from threads softer than twilight's own mantle, they surrendered to sleep, Michael with dreams cradled in the crook of his arm, and M nestled atop him where her heartbeat sang alongside Michael's steady pulse. The melody of their love was but a single note within Eldoria's eternal song, yet together they were its harmonious and enduring refrain that echoed through the glade as one continuous river flowing into tomorrow's promise and yesterday's and finer resonances intertwined with now. And in this sacred place, where time itself seemed to pause beneath Eldoria's benevolent sky, they found not just refuge, but also a home or sanctuary bound by love as much as blood, guardianship that was neither solely duty nor burden, but an honor bestowed upon those whose hearts were true and spirits unwavering. As Michael held M close in the night's gentle fold, their shared destiny within Eldoria's tale continued to unfold on chapter at a time. Each day beneath its ever-watchful gaze another verse added to an ageless epic where guardianship was not just duty but also profound joy. And together they would carry on the legacy of those who had walked these paths before them, their love and loyalty safeguarding Eldoria's voice in chapter 19 of their tale. Under Eldoria's vast canopy, Michael and M found themselves at a grand celebration within the heart of the sacred Glader festival that honored both individual guardianship and collective unity throughout centuries past. It was known to all who dwelled in this place as the Day of Many Stars, an occasion where tales were spun not with threads, but with stories woven through song and shared histories, a tradition Michael had learned from the elders during his own training under Eldoria's benevolent sky. As twilight kissed the land in hues of lavender and gold at day's end, guests began to trickle into one another's embrace around bonfires that crackled with ancestral energy. Michael wrapped M closer against his chest as he joined their circle amidst mirthful revelry. Eldoria was a live tonnator, symphony of laughter and tales where every whispered secret felt like a cherished treasure held in the palm, promising that even after countless nights had folded into themselves many times over, moments such as this were always to be savored with reverence. The couple shared their own story and narrative tender and true, for M's lineage, too, was entwined deeply within Eldoria's protective embrace. Her grandmother had been a guardian like Michael, chosen by destiny as much as heritage to stand watch over the sacred grove where spirits roamed free under moonlit whispers and sun-kissed blooms swaying gently in daylight's caress. They spoke of their first night beneath Eldoria's boughs, when Michael had been but a lad with eyes as wide as full moons on new beginnings, or gaze that now mirrored M's own reflection upon the watering spring beside them where both were once toddlers. It was here they learned of guardianship not merely from tales by firelight, but in silent lessons taught through bonds forged beneath starlit watches and shared glances as constant companions across seasons that span the lific zero emes untold within their world's expansive memory. As Michael recounted the night of whispers, when Eldoria herself seemed to speak directly to his solar voice, gentle yet clear, guiding him with tendrils of wisdom as delicate and persistent as morning mist caressing dew-laden petals awake after a long winter's sleep. M listened intently while twirling her fingers through the fabric of Michael's cloaker garment, now frayed at its edges, yet still imbued with the essence of protection and comfort, as if woven by Eldoria herself on moonlit nights when time itself held a pause. The threadbare weave sang lullabies to her heart. Each fibre carried echoes of laughter shared around ancient stones that had heard confessions, dreams whispered in the darkened underbrush where only shadows and flickering flames bore witness. And as they danced hand in hand with those who came before them, their feet tracing patterns older than Eldoria's oldest memory, yet still fresh upon her fertile earth, they found themselves wrapped not just in the cloak of duty, but also a comfort that surpassed mere physical warmth. It was an understanding passed down through generations whereby guardianship became as much about loving and being loved by one another's soul song as it did for safeguarding Eldoria's eternal voice from the silence of time. Should any threat erasered silent, vow not to fail, but in doing so, secure peace. Within this festival where every guardian shared their lineage and tales that spanned across realms both seen and unseen, Michael felt M's heartbeat pulse with his own, a symphony of synchronicity against the thrumming drum-like resonance in Eldoria's sacred glade, or harmony so profound it seemed to transcend mere mortality. As day yielded its last golden kiss upon their cheeks, they found themselves alone beneath an archway carved with scenes of history, where even the oldest stones bore witness, a gateway that led directly back into Eldoria's embrace, or covenant sanctified by tradition and love alike. They lay side by side in shared repose as stars began to prickle across their skin, twinkling like distant campfires above them within the night sky wherein they had danced until sleep claimed its due, a quietude that settled over Michael's ch as twilight's hues deepened into velveteen darkness and night whispered secrets to those who would listen. Michael found himself wandering amidst ancient relics of his ancestors with them by his side. They traced their fingers over carved runes that spoke tales of valorous deeds done under a watchful moon at time, when the guardians themselves were as mythical creatures in stories told to wide-eyed children at bedtime, embodiments of strength and wisdom who defended Eldoria's sacred voice. "Remember this place," and said softly, her breath mingling with his own, a shared warmth that wrapped around them like a thick shawl as they ventured deeper into the heart of history, where time seemed to stand still and reverence hung in every shadowed alcove and cobwebbed corner. Michael's eyes grew heavy, but he clung to her hand for stability against his own uncertainty, and embrace that was both a comforting reminder of homecoming within Eldoria's ever-watchful presence and an anchor in the sea of past memories flooding back through their shared lineage. In this hallowed ground, where echoes lingered, They stumbled upon what appeared to be forgotten or mosaic floor that had been untouched by time's relentless march forward. Their feet barely disturbed the dust as Michael and Em knelt before it, their fingers tentatively lifting debris from intricate patterns of colorful stones beneath them. These were no mere decorations. They held a story, a map that depicted paths once trodden by guardians like himself who had come here with purpose beyond the call to arms or watch over Eldoria's voice, but in search of something deeper within their souls and hearts, connection so profound it was as if destiny itself wove these threads together. As they uncovered more pieces that fit snugly into place like a constellation forming across the night sky above them, one led to another until the mosaic revealed its secret heart, pulsating with an ethereal glow only visible in moonlight's embrace or under starlit heavens. The pattern seemed alive, as if it had been crafted by unseen hands that wanted Michael and Em not just to guard Eldoria's voice, but also the silent songs of love embedded within its stones, a resonance felt deep inside their cause, where only pure intentions could reveal themselves. This, Em whispered in reverence, as her eyes shimmered with tears unbidden by fatigue or sorrow or reflection, not just from Michael's, but also the mosaic itself seemed to hold back its own silent melody, a harmony that was Eldoria's soul. The Guardians had once discovered this secret in their journey of self-discovery and connection. Now it awaited them as an inheritance beyond legacy or duty or gift from the very essence they swore to protect with every breath drawn within these sacred confines, a testament that love was not just another armor, but also its compass. Michael felt his heartbeat aligning perfectly with Em's beside him. It wasn't merely synchronicity, it seemed like the universe itself had orchestrated their meeting in this very spot where history and destiny converged, a dance of souls that transcended mere mortality as they laid back on woven reeds by an ancient grove with stones marking constellations. As Michael closed his eyes to listen more closely for the whispers carried through Eldoria's voice, a symphony composed not only of their shared laughter or tender glances, but also in echoes that resonated within him like a call back to self. He felt an urgency as palpable as waking thoughts. "We must understand this," Em said firmly, with the lasting strength born from generations who had stood here before them, a vow of guardianship not just for Eldoria, but also its essence that dwelled within each heartbeat and every breath, a shared oath to protect something greater than themselves. The ancient grove hummed with the energy of centuries as Michael imagined his ancestors' footsteps echoing through these halls. Their spirits seemed to guide him here, not for conquest or command, but in pursuit of an understanding that required more trust and faith, a search where love was both shield and sword. A gentle breeze carried the scent of blooming night-desm flowers, a reminder from nature itself about cycles repeating with each season's term. Michael felt this too, within his own heart, as if he had been waiting for Em. Michael and Em found themselves beneath a canopy of stars that seemed to be watching over them with an ancient wisdom only Eldoria knew how to interpret. The night had brought forth its bounty in lilacs, violets, and white blooms, as if the very earth acknowledged their union under the sacred sky, a celebration not just for two souls, but also of centuries that weave through time like threads on a loom. As Michael lay back onto woven reeds by an ancient grove with stones marking constellations, he felt as if the fabric of history was wrapped around him gently and warmly, or cloak against any fears or hesitations about their journey ahead. Em's voice rose in a melodic lullaby beside his ear. She sang tales passed down from her ancestors who had walked these paths just like Michael, but with the courage of spirits that now lived within him as well. Their shared laughter mingled with tender glances created an ethereal symphony, a blend where each note was laced with love and a promise to protect Eldoria's essence, which dwelled not just in Michael's heart, but also whispered through Emily's soul. The ancient grove hummed, its vibrancy pulsing like the steady beat of their joined hearts, as they both understood that this journey was about more than finding each other. It had always been a pilgrimage back to themselves and what truly made them feel at home in Eldoria's embrace. The gentle breeze carried not only the scent of blooming night-desm flowers, but also stories from days when their ancestors first stepped into this grove, where they had pledged an oath as strong as steel and enduring as time itself, a vow to protect Eldoria's spirit which lived in every heartbeat. As Michael closed his eyes, he felt a warmth spread through him. It was the connection between generations that coursed within these ancient stones. With each breath of air laced with history and humus-rich earth under their skin, they imagined themselves walking where those before them had walked, their lineage stretching back to time immemorial in Eldoria's grove. The spirits seemed not as mere echoes but guides. Michael realized he could hear the soft murmur of footsteps that were once his ancestors' own, and with each step Am took beside him through this hallowed ground, she was walking closer to where her route intertwined deepest in Eldoria. This sacred grove became their temple, a sanctuary for discovering not only about who they had been, but also of what lay ahead, their path entwining like the ivy that embraced stone with unbridled affection and determination to grow ever upward towards light. Michael knew he carried within him an ancient strength, inherited from those generations before, a lineage as enduring as Eldoria itself. His spirit was now interlaced with Emily's through the shared oath they had made her vow that each breath and heartbeat would honor their ancestors' commitment to protect what mattered most. As Michael listened more intently, he felt a newfound urgency in understanding not just Eldoria but also himself within this grand tapestry of time. The whispers carried through his ear were like an echo from across ages that resonated with wisdom and love, or called back to self where trust bloomed as fervently as any flower here. M's resolve stood firm, a beacon for Michael's own convictions growing ever stronger within him. Together they would stand guard over something greater than themselves in this grove of spirits that had witnessed the ebb and flow of centuries, or shared oath to protect their ancestral home from threats seen or unseen. With each gentle breeze, night desm flowers seemed to nod as if acknowledging Michael's inner awakening, his heartbeat a drummer setting pace for this dance between man and nature, where love was both shield against darkness and sword in lighter harmony that resonated through the grove. It became evident not just with their shared laughter or tender glances, but also as they embraced each other's presence here among Eldoria's ancient guardians. The night air felt alive around them. A subtle energy pulsed from Michael to M and back again, a transfer of resolve, where every breath was both an invocation for protection and acceptance, that love could endure the fiercest storm or shine brightest in starlight's caress. The ancient grove's secrets began their slow unraveling as night gave way to dawn, as daylight began to peek through Eldoria's towering canopies. Michael and M found themselves enveloped in a hushed reverence for their early journey into understanding each other's souls amidst ancient guardians of the land. Up the very essence of this sacred grove pulsated with an energy that whispered tales older than time itself. In these moments, when night's embrace gave way to daylight's tender touch, M and Michael took a solemn vow beneath Eldoria's watchful eye, promise made not just of love but as guardianship over the land they cherished so deeply. As morning dew settled upon their intertwined fingers like liquid pearls on velvet, it seemed as though nature itself conspired to bear witness to this union. Their laughter echoed with a lightness that mingled seamlessly with the chorus of dawn's first bird-song and rustling leaves. Each shared glance was laden with promises not spoken aloud but understood through every quiver in their eyes, each tender touch on Michael's shoulder solidifying bonds as unbreakable as they were profound. Michael felt a surge within him, or call to purpose, that resonated from his very core. He remembered the stories of ancestors who had safeguarded Eldoria for generations, and now he was poised on their path once more. M's presence beside him anchored every hope in something steadfast as stone. Together they wandered through meadows where wildflowers spilled like paint across the earth's canvas, a vibrant testament to life enduring and thriving against all odds. The sun, a golden orb of warmth on high, bathed them in its glow as if acknowledging their sacred bond. In this enchanted realm where time seemed suspended between the petals of night desm flowers and whispered secrets among ancient trees, Michael found his resolve mirroring that of himself, shared strength growing with each step they took together. It was as if Eldoria itself had cradled them in its bosom, guiding their souls to where the heartbeat of guardianship drummed loudest. Amidst a grove revered by these spirits that knew no mortal end, Am and Michael learned about sacrifice from silent stones and whispering winds. They understood now how love was not just an emotion, but also their legacy, their shield against darkness, the sword in light. The ancient guardians of Eldoria watched with eyes unseen as this pair embraced a future built on trust and bound by blood. This grove had seen countless souls before them, yet it was here that two hearts would learn to beat as one, a rhythm echoing through the ages. As they ventured deeper into Eldoria's heart, M shared tales of old where love's light outshone even the stars. Michael felt his spirit swell with pride for a home so deeply intertwined within them. His laughter blended effortlessly with hers, as if their very breath had synchronized a melody that spoke not just to those who heard, but also to Eldoria itself. Their promise was simple yet profound. They would protect and honor the legacy entrusted upon them. It wasn't merely a vow made in haste, for it took every fibre of their being, every drop of sweat on blossomed skin as welled up. The ancients had spoken through M's grandmother that when one is ready to hear nature's call, they would find the answer within themselves. Thrice did Michael and M pledge upon this hallowed ground, their voices mingling with Eldoria's eternal whisper. They spoke of a love as enduring as mountains or sacred bond, that promised protection for all seasons. In these solemn words they cast aside doubt like leaves in autumn's final dance. M and Michael knew the path ahead was one laced with trials, but their spirits were unshakable. Each day beneath Eldoria's watchful gaze brought them closer to understanding themselves as stewards of this realm. As they learned from nature, so too did it learn from them. Their journey through the grove was one not just of miles traversed, but also of souls united. The ancient oaks stood tall and proud, silent sentinels that had borne witness to countless seasons, if nodding in solid agreement. M's touch upon Michael's back reassured him, as steadying hands can always be found when the heart seeks solace. The clearing was untouched by time except for the footprint of a single wandering elk that had strayed from its forest home, or harbinger of change, or perhaps an omen. Michael reached out, his hand finding M's with unexpected ease, as if their souls recognized one another across realms. They both felt it in their bones. Something profound was about to unfold beneath these olden trees that had stood sentinel over countless cycles of the moon and sun. M's voice, gentle yet firm, broke Michael's reverie as they spoke. "Let us speak our wishes into this clearing where even now Eldoria listens." The elk observed them with curious eyes before vanishing like a wisp in the wind, leaving behind only dampened earth and silence. They began to recite their words of love or testament that spoke not just for themselves, but as an unwavering declaration meant to echo through Eldoria's annals. In the heartbeat of this ancient land, beneath its boughs, let us intertwine our souls. Through storm and sunshine alike, may we stand firm in unity, bastion for each other against all that would seek to harm. The air around them seemed to shimmer with their promises, as if the very atmosphere of Eldoria was drawing breath along with M's every syllable. Michael's heart swelled not only at his own words, but also in silent gratitude towards M for her courage, her willingness to intertwine destiny into tangible form within this hallowed ground, where reality and myth were indistinguishable. Beginning chapter content here. M's grandmother had often spoken of the grove as a place beyond mere landmarks. "It is more than just soil beneath our feet," she would say with her gentle yet commanding voice, one that seemed to resonate deeply within M and Michael's souls on their way back from this sacred space each time they visited Eldoria's heart. Michael had first suggested the idea of a ritual here, a testament not just for themselves, but as an oath before all nature itself, ensuring that whatever trials lay ahead would find them united and strong like roots gripping to ancient stone. M agreed with this because she believed in honoring tradition. It was where they felt closest to the lineage of those who had walked these paths long before their time. Their grandmother's tales a comforting backdrop against any uncertainty that might lie ahead as part of Eldoria's unfolding narrative. With every step taken within this sacred clearing, M and Michael could feel the history pressing close around them like an unseen embrace. They felt each vibration from leaves rustling, stories older than time, and in their own pledge those whispers took form as a promise of love eternal against Eldoria's silent approval. The sun was descending low upon the horizon when M and Michael left this clearing with hearts lighter yet wiser for having spoken such powerful words into existence, that they would face whatever came their way, hand in hand or side by side, as one being intertwined like ivy along Eldoria's enduring trunks. Together under the canopy of ancient oaks and guided only by starlight starting to peek through closing clouds, M whispered a promise into Michael's ear. "Let us always remember where we stand in this world as well-rooted yet reaching for each other." Michael smiled then at her words because he knew their journey was one of growth and discovery. It would take them to places both within Eldoria's groves and beyond its borders, through seasons that tested the mettle not only of M's grandmother, but also now of Michael himself, and it all seemed right as they continued walking hand in hand together towards tomorrow under a sky painted with dreams. And so began their days beneath Eldoria's gaze, where each sunrise brought new lessons and every setting sun whispered secrets into his night, draped its velvety cloak over Eldoria's ancient landscape. Em and Michael found themselves nestled in a secluded meadow, where fireflies danced like living jewels against twilight's canvas. It had been their custom to gather here once the day gave way to stars. They believed that beneath this celestial dome lay wisdom only whispered by nature itself, wisdom for two hearts intertwined on life's grand tapestry, weaving threads of experiences and love into patterns unseen. Their hands found each other not as strangers, but as kindred spirits molding a shared destiny beneath the constellations that had silently watched over generations before the mass silent approval granted to this union by Eldoria's sentient spirit itself. Its voice echoed through rustling leaves and bubbling brooks. Em's fingers traced patterns along Michael's knuckles as she leaned closer in the cool night air, her breath a soft cloud of warmth against his cheek. "Michael," Em began with an earnest tone that blended seamlessly into the serene ambience around them, "I wish to honor our vow under this sky, to remember where we stand amidst life's vast journey." He nodded slowly as he listened intently, his eyes reflecting a depth of understanding. He knew their love was not just about companionship, but an evolution that mirrored Eldoria's own growth rings in its grandest trees. It had begun humbly and now reached for the heavens with aspirations high above even these ancient oaks. "We stand together," Michael said, thoughtfully, "not as separate entities who occasionally share breath, but two souls interlaced through time, rooted to our own truths, yet forever reaching towards each other's core." His voice held a timbre of resolve that was comforting and familiar in its resonance. Em smiled then at his words, because she knew Michael saw within her the same vision they had shared beneath this very sky, one where their roots were entwined with firmness, providing strength to weather storms, yet flexible enough for them to grow together as if each leaf of Eldoria was a memory in itself. Without uttering another word, Michael took Em's hand, and they turned towards the meadow's heart, where an ancient stone circle stood as silent witnesses to countless love stories before their own had dared to unfold here. This sacred site held secrets of resilience whispered by Eldoria itself, for it was said that those who found true companionship within its hallowed ground were blessed with fortitude against life's trials and tribulations. Her sentiment Em felt in her bones as she gazed upon the monolithic stones. As they stood before this testament of time, Michael began to speak again, his voice a gentle timbre beneath Eldoria's watchful eyes. "My love for you is like these enduring pillars. It will not crumble with age or erosion, but only grow in stature and grandeur, a monument more significant than any man-made edifice within this forest." Em felt her heart swell at Michael's declaration, the very stones underfoot seeming to echo back their own promises of love eternal against Eldoria's silent approval. She knew that every sunrise and setting sun here was a lesson in enduring grace, a reminder not only for them but also for her grandmother, who had guided Em's path with wisdom, now passed on to Michael as well. The couple spent hours sharing stories of their ancestors, journeys within Eldoria and beyond its borders, tales where love was the compass that navigated through times both prosperous and challenging, times when each had weathered storms alone, but always found solace in this very forest's embrace. As midnight encroached upon their shared time, Em led Michael to a small brook nearby, whose waters flowed with gentle purpose from the mountain's heart, its course uninterrupted by human hands or intentions, much like Eldoria itself and all that it meant for this couple's love. They sat on moss-covered stones as they watched moonlight paint silver strokes across water, reflecting a cosmic dance above them. Em closed her eyes to feel the pulse of life around, within Michael an energy unbroken by time or distance. She knew this was where their roots delved deep into Eldoria's essence, and from which they would continue reaching outward towards horizons yet unknown together. "Michael," Em whispered with a tender. Michael took Em's hand in his own as they sat by the brook's edge under a sky awash with stars, their light mingling softly among those of distant suns far beyond Eldoria. The crickets began to chirp louder, its symphony that seemed to echo through time itself within this hallowed place where generations had whispered and wept in equal measure for the love they shared here beneath the ancient canopy. As Em's fingers gently traced patterns on Michael's wrist, She remembered tales of their ancestors, how each generation sought solace under these same boughs, passing down legends wherein nature was both witness and guardian to human hearts intertwined by fate or affection rather than blood. He began with a voice as smooth as the water before them that carried reflections of history in its gentle flow. I feel each drop here is like an echo from our past, a reminder of all we've faced and overcome together. She smiled knowingly at his words. They had spent countless evenings beneath these trees conversing about their ancestors who were once as present to them in spirit, if not always physically, sharing stories that bridged the chasm between then and now, were testament to Eldoria's enduring legacy of love against all odds. The brook spoke without sound. Its waters had been a part of their family's history since Em was but an infant nestled in her mother's womb, cradled by these very stones under the watchful eyes of trees that knew no time nor master save for Eldoria, itself and love, and looked over at Michael with tender affection as she watched him sit beside her on a moss-covered rock where they could feel its dampness seep into their clothes, connecting them to this earth even more directly, and before it was here that Em knew he had become fully part of the world around Eldoria. As night's curtain drew tighter and shadows deepened among ancient limbs above them like watchful guardians, they shared a quiet communion with nature's unyielding cadence, which pulsed through their veins a rhythm as old as the mountains themselves that cradled Eldoria. She whispered into his ear of times when darkness threatened to overtake this sacred place, and how generations had gathered here in unity with nature's resilience against despair's shadow during tribulations, both known and unforeseen, times like those they were now facing together, but would emerge from stronger. Michael reached for Em's hand as she continued her stories of love that transcended time within Eldoria, where hearts beat in synchrony with the land itself. This was their legacy to carry forth into whatever tomorrow might hold, but calm or tempestuous seas they must always navigate together. The forest hummed its approval through rustling leaves and creaking boughs that felt like sighing ancestors, embracing Em's voice with the warmth of centuries-old trees, as she spoke about their shared journey or path carved by love's unwar zero auspicious hand. Michael closed his eyes to feel her presence envelop him in a tender embrace while he listened intently for any sign that Eldoria was mirroring back the strength and peace of Michael's own heart, every beat synchronizing with Em, affirming their bond like an unbroken chain stretched through time. Their shared breath became one as they sat there in silence, their testament to all things past which had led them here, culminating into the present where only love and togetherness remained for a future yet written upon Eldoria's heartstrings like unplayed melodies awaiting release. Em, he said softly as they drew closer together on those mossy stones that had borne witness to so much, I feel we are but the latest notes in this eternal song of our lineage, our harmony crafted by love's persistent echo. She nodded gently at his words, and for a moment they were still as two sentinels, guarding history's doorway where all who came before them had found solace under the same sky. It was here, in Eldoria, among these ancient trees, that time flowed like water ceaselessly forward, but ever serene within its own natural rhythm and pace, a place of unspoken understanding between souls bound by affection's eternal tapestry. With every heartbeat shared beneath the star-pricked sky, Em felt their love was not just for each. The air was crisp and cool against the skin of both travelers, yet neither felt a chill as they exchanged silent promises under Eldoria's watchful boughs that had seen empires rise and fall like seasons passing over this eternal land. The gentle swaying of branches seemed to synchronize with their own breaths, a rhythmical dance set by nature itself, weaving them closer in the embrace of shared solitude amidst Eldoria's sacred tranquility. With each soft exhale that melded into Em's chest and whispered back to Michael as he felt her steady heartbeat through his over tangible connection between souls beyond the mere physical presence of one another, transcending realms where words were unnecessary in their communion. The stars above blinked like eyes, witnessing a love so pure that even they seemed drawn closer to gaze upon its beauty, with envy green hues dimming into twilight's gentle embrace as night encroached on the last remnants of daylight's kisses, promising rest and peace for those who dared listen. Michael reached his hand beneath Em's chin to cup her cheek tenderly, a gesture that spoke volumes in its simplicity while conveying depths as vast as Eldoria's ancient oaks themselves. He traced the contours of her face with fingertips, each touch a whisper from past generations joining their own current moments. In this sacred time without words or haste or communion, where only heartbeats echoed and souls conversed in tender tones known but to them within Eldoria's hallowed borders, as they found themselves enveloped by the serenity that was both a balm for their spirits and an affirmation of all enduring bonds. They were, after all, not mere mortals trapped on earth, but rather descendants threading through generations upon Michael's lineage like waves caress against Eldoria's shores. He knew now that his blood carried echoes from a time when the land was cradled by eldritch magic, and whispers of destiny wove themselves into every life thread, binding them to this sacred place. M's eyes were orbs reflecting not just her soul but also tales penned in history's hidden chapters, or mirror, where Michael saw reflections that connected him eternally with his ancestors and the very essence of Eldoria itself, their spirits dancing through ages like rivers flow into oceans, carrying stories untold to destinations yet dreamt upon. As they lay in silent communion beneath a sky punctuated by constellations that told tales older than words themselves, Michael spoke softly, as if his voice might disturb the delicate balance of Eldoria's magic and its timeless sentinels. He murmured with reverence for their shared moment amidst echoes from beyond. The air itself seemed to pause in acknowledgment before them. Stars held their breath, a cosmic audience bidding respect as Michael's heart thrummed a rhythm of gratitude and love that was both ancient yet uniquely personal, intertwining his essence with hers within the embrace of eternity. The songs sung by our lineage, he continued gently between shared breaths, or melody only hearts attuned to history's frequency could understand or appreciate. Their love was not simply for each other, but a harmony crafted over eons, through generations of affection's echoing heartbeat. He spoke words that were as much the verses penned by time itself as they were his own, an ode to eternity and the sacred connection between Michael and M on this night beneath Eldoria's moonlit canopy, where all past loves found solace in shared silence, awaiting release into a future yet written with unplayed melodies. M listened intently as her own heart synchronized its pulse to his resonant symphony of two souls becoming one under the gaze of time. As Michael and M stood beneath Eldoria's moonlit canopy, a realm where time flowed like a gentle stream, their souls intertwined in an ethereal dance of love that transcended mere mortality. He felt the presence of something ancient watching over them. It was as if history itself had summoned this moment for Michael and M to experience its depths firsthand within Eldoria's enchanted embrace. The night air, cool against their skin like a soothing balm, carried whispers from the past, or symphony of lives lived long ago that resonated with them deeply as they shared this hallowed connection on such an extraordinary evening. With each word Michael spoke, and every tender touch M returned, it was as if time itself had wrapped its arms around their joined beings to protect these precious moments against any threat or intrusion from the world beyond Eldoria's boundaries, or place where timeless sentinels kept watch over sacred histories. Michael continued his gentle discourse with them about the legacy of affection that bound them together, speaking in low tones so as not to disturb their 029 dents or disrupt this shared communion between hearts and history alike. He spoke of a lineage, or family tree rooted deep within Eldoria's soul, where love's echoes had been sung for ages untold, shaping the destiny of countless generations that came before them as they stood here in this very moment together once more under the watchful eyes of celestial guardians. He recounted tales passed down through whispers and memorist songs his ancestors had sung to honor their love, a testament born out of years where passion was forged like steel beneath flames that never died but instead became quenched in the waters of time itself, thus preserving its purity. And as M listened with wide-eyed wonder and growing affection, the realization dawning upon her own heart's horizon, Michael spoke now not only to each other, but also out loud for them both. Our love is an eternal song that weaves through the fabric of Eldoria. With every note sung by our lineage, he paused as M clasped his hand and felt a shiver run down her spine. We continue this melody or harmony crafted over eons. Their eyes met in silent understanding. They were not just witnesses to history, but now its custodians. A sense of destiny wrapped around them like the most intricate and precious shawl as Michael continued, his voice a mere ripple across Eldoria's vast oceanic expanse. The songs sung by our lineage, he whispered tenderly between shared breaths, or melody only hearts attuned to history's frequency could understand or appreciate. Their love was not simply for each other by a harmony crafted over eons, through generations of affection's echoing heartbeat. The stars above, those ancient watchers that had seen it all before them and would see beyond into the unknown future they were yet to write to, flickered with approval. They seemed almost alive in their silent applause, as Michael's own words became a living part of Eldoria itself, an ode to eternity, where every syllable was both his personal testament and echo from ages past, reverberating through the night until it blended seamlessly with M's heartbeat. As they stood there together on this fateful night beneath that silvered moonlight or canvas upon which dreamers might paint their deepest desires or fears, Michael and M realized what was happening within them beyond the mere physical connection of bodies entwined. They were becoming one with each other under Eldoria's watchful gaze. It wasn't just about being together. It was as if they had been apart for centuries before finding their way back to this point in time, or shared destiny that brought them into an eternal embrace where every memory, love lost and found again, came alive within the tapestry of now. Their souls resonated with a frequency unique only between two such kindred spirits. It was as if their hearts had danced together for all time to chimere duet that would continue well beyond Eldoria's borders, where each note played out by Michael and M in this very moment beneath the moonlit sky held power enough to alter destinies yet unwritten across countless lifespans. "Here we are," whispered Michael between shared breaths, or melody only hearts attuned could understand or appreciate. As Michael and M stood hand in hand beneath Eldoria's shimmering moonlight, that night, their souls entwined in a delicate dance of destiny, they sensed an ancient magic coursing through them, a force as old as time itself. It was within this ethereal connection that Michael felt the gentle touch of history upon his skin, and M's heartbeat echoing with whispers from times long gone by. The air around them seemed to shimmer, holding secrets carried on its wings, tales whispered in hushed tones across generations, finally finding their voice through these two kindred spirits united under the cosmos. Watchful eyes, as if guided by an invisible hand, they began a slow dance past a dew that defied physics and time alike, allowing them to communicate not with words, but shared emotions and memories spun from every thread of their being. They closed your world behind the veil of sleep, as Michael's mind wandered through Eldoria's history like a gentle stream cutting its way across an ageless valley or land where magic lived in all things, pulsating with life and energy yet unseen by mortal eyes until now. In these dreamscapes beyond reality, he found echoes of his own heartbeat melding seamlessly into M's rhythm under the celestial glow above the matte harmony that spoke to their souls in ways words could never achieve. He remembered a time when Eldoria had been but an empty expanse, waiting for its first breath of life. He felt it within him then as well, this desire not just for connection with one's soul at the present moment, but also through eons that stretched back to their very beginnings. The land itself seemed a live air, living entity bound by destiny and love's eternal embrace which had shaped its existence since time immemorial. Every mountain peak stood as silent sentinels overseeing the course of history, while each river flowed with stories waiting to be told through their waters. As Michael closed his eyes in a momentary lapse between shared breaths or respite where only love's whispers could reach him, he was transported back further still. He saw himself not just as an individual, but also within the tapestry of time, woven with threads that extended beyond Eldoria's borders. There were moments when his spirit roamed freely across centuries or journeyed through epochs where kings and queens had risen and fallen upon this very land, each era leaving its mark on Michael's soul like intricate embroidery in a grand tapestry of experiences that spanned the ages, imbuing him with wisdom beyond his years. Within these reveries lay memories not just personal but shared or mosaic, where every laughter and sorrow had been absorbed into Michael's essence. He felt M's presence in each joyous recollection as they relived the moments of their lives together, knowing that even love lost could be found again under Eldoria's watchful gaze. It was a connection beyond mere physicality, a resonance between hearts and souls transcending time itself, where every touch held meaning etched into existence by shared experiences. Michael knew he had stumbled upon something far greater than himself, an ancient magic that flowed through his veins like liquid gold coursing down the heart of Eldoria, and felt too her sense of belonging in this world beyond time and space where she could finally unite her spirit with Michael's essence under a moonlit sky without fear or doubt. Together they were explorers embarking on an odyssey through history itself, discovering truths hidden within the folds of legend. They found themselves at crossroads in their shared journey where paths diverged into realms both familiar and unknown, a place untouched by mortal hands awaiting them to leave imprints upon its fabric, as though every step they took etched itself deeper into reality's tapestry. Here, within these mystical landscapes that defied all logic yet fell so intimately right, as Michael and M wandered amidst ancient ruins where once mighty empires had risen from the dust beneath their feet, or civilization born in firelight long ago whose echoes still whispered across time's expanse. Here was something more than mere discovery, for within these hallowed grounds lay secrets that could alter destinies yet unwritten and paths not taken by those who walked before them upon Eldoria's shores. It seemed as though they had stumbled onto a treasure trove of knowledge or library of memory